Hola, linda noche, ¿cómo están? ¿Cómo los trata el frío? Fíjense que yo vengo de la calle y normalmente no vengo tan tapada y entro a mi departamento y bueno, vean, abrigo, bufanda. El tema de hoy me encanta que sea como uno de los temas de cierre, relaciones abiertas, porque creo que hemos venido reflexionando sobre lo que son las relaciones humanas, hacia dónde va la tendencia, hemos hablado de tantas cosas y bueno, hoy voy a hacer una excepción, vamos a probar qué tal está mi inglés y vamos con el programa pues completamente en inglés porque mis invitadas tienen una audiencia que, bueno, es internacional. Entonces, bueno, como una forma de respeto a todas las personas que nos están escuchando, que se están conectando en este momento, pues venga, we're going to do this in English. I promise to my Mexican audience or the people that follow the program from Chile, Argentina, and all the lovely places that I will do one next year, I promise, and it will be in Spanish. But as for today, just to honor my guests and all the lovely people that are joining, well, it will be in English. I hope my English is okay. My daughter and my son were laughing. They say that my English it's kind of like a mixture in between English from London and then from Australia and then the Salma Hayek accent. So, well, let's see how it goes. May I introduce you one of my first ladies that I have tonight to talk about open relations. So if I can have Lexie on the screen, Beto, please. Si me pones a Lexie, bonita noche. This is desde el cuarto piso.
Hi.
Hi, Lexie. How are you? So nice to have you here tonight.
Yes, thank you for having me, Carla.
Well, this is like a theme that we've been. I mean, we haven't had no one like chatting with us or talking about open relations. We have the Poly Love podcast. Well, actually, two programs about that. And I would like to, if you could tell me, what's the difference in between poly love and an open relation? Can we have that?
Yeah, so polyamory is more just like having various relationships with various people, whereas open relations, and there are different flavors of that.
Tell me,
partner, and that's who you're with.
yeah.
And then you may be exploring either on a side, you may be exploring as a couple. There's kind of different flavors of that, but that's different than having multiple relationships because now you're just in a relationship with that one person.
Tell me something. How would you know the difference? I mean, how do you choose? How do you decide? Because the first podcast we did, like people were kind of confused. And well, I understood, for example, that our guest, she was the lady, she said, well, I was so involved that I decided that it was not an open relation, but I was into a poly love relation because she was falling in love for the other part. How would you know which way to go?
Yeah, that's a great question. I do think it's a matter of exploration and also setting boundaries for yourself in that particular relationship. So there's something that's called the agreement, right? So when you enter in a relationship, you come up with that agreement. And just to be clear, not every relationship needs to be an open relationship, right? It's not for everyone, but it is something that a lot of people seek for or are curious about. So the first step would be really to create that agreement. And within that agreement, you create boundaries of what's acceptable for you, what's acceptable for the partner. What do you guys want to do with this? And it kind of starts from there. It's not to say that it's set in stone. There are situations where that can change and you want to explore different things. You want to close the relationship or you want to open it in a different manner. But that is kind of the cornerstone of that.
Yeah, I think it's like a very thin line. Would you say so? Like, because as for me, I've been asked twice. Once to be in a poly love relation, and I was like, oh no, I don't know if I can, because I'm kind of jealous, I think. Well, I've never realized until I was asked. And then another, and it was like very recently, like this guy just proposed me to have good sex, but he was in an open relation, and it didn't feel like attractive to me. I was like, I don't know. How would you know? I think it's a very, very thin line. I think we have now MJ with us. Beto, tenemos ya, ¿verdad? A MJ. Sí, ¿no? MJ, are you here? Hola. Hi.
Hola. Hi, everybody.
How is it gonna be, English or Spanish?
Whatever you want. I can do both.
Well, we're doing this in English because mostly the audience they are well, English speaking people, so we decided that we should do it like that. But if you feel like speaking Spanish, voy a estar de lo más feliz porque soy mucho más fluida en español que en inglés. We're talking about the difference between polylove and an open relation. In your own experience, do you think it's easy, like, to decide? I know it's an agreement between men and women, or women and, I mean, it doesn't matter the gender, but it should be an agreement. Is it difficult to get to that point as a couple? Because sometimes one part wants and the other doesn't, right? It might be difficult, like both parts are in the same road.
I think it is hard. It's hard because it's not for everybody. Oh, first of all, I'm not an expert. I'm just somebody who is in an open relationship. Just to be clear, like where my opinion comes from. It is hard to find somebody who is on the same page as you are, and I think it has to do a lot with communicating your needs and your wants. So. Yeah, I mean, it needs to be something that both parts agree on, as you say. So yeah, it can be hard. It's not out there for everybody.
And tell me something. I mean, wants to answer this, it's okay. May I say to the audience that MJ, she's Mexican, and then I have well, maybe you can tell us, where are you from? Because I would say Russia. Where are you? She's gone? No, she's here.
I'm here. I'm still here. I would say, for the purpose of this podcast, American. So let's just
American, yeah. So we have two different nationalities living in Mexico City for, I mean, at least times and times periods. Is it easy to have an open relation like here in Mexico? We're very conservative. I can tell you that the Mexican society, like, mostly we judge. Like, if you say, okay, estoy en una relación abierta, I'm in an open relation, she's a lost woman, she's a whore, she's lost, she's not she's not worth it.
Decent.
She's not decent, she's not una buena mujer. I would never marry a girl like that. Is it easy? Is it changing? Because I know both of you are younger than me. I'm 51. I know my generation. Trust me, we're wackos. We're like this. Bob swear Bob. Bob is
not everybody though, because
I know.
Age who are very open-minded and very into this lifestyle. So yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Sorry. You were saying.
No, because I saw that you were like that, and I thought it was me, but I don't know who it was. But go. Yeah, not everybody. I know. I'm just being mean.
I think it. I mean, for me, it was easy because I brought it up right at the beginning of our relationship. I've been with my boyfriend for 6 years almost now, and I think if the woman in a heterosexual relationship, I mean, if the woman is the one who proposes to be open in the relationship, I think it can be easier coming from a Latin American perspective, of course. Because if you come from an American perspective or a European perspective, it's a whole different world there. I think many men are open to have an open relationship. Not every woman, but coming from a woman, I feel that it might be easier to get to a middle ground, you know? I don't know what you think, Lexie.
Yeah, I do think it's not easy, and it's not for everybody. I agree with MJ in that it needs to be said up front, because it is at the end of the day, it is part of who you are, right? You're not trying to be a different person when you enter that relationship, and it's important to kind of put it on the table. Then if the person does not agree, it's up to you what you want to do with that, right? You can just end the relationship, or you can do something else. You can just be in a monogamous relationship at that point. It's up to you. But to original point, in Mexico, in Mexico, I mean, a lot of men are open to it in theory, but in practice, I think we're dealing with a lot of challenges as it relates to mentality, as it relates to culture. Some things that you've learned, maybe 20 years ago, like to your point, Carla, the way you were raised, right? This is not the way to go. And sometimes that kind of butts heads with that concept of the open relationship and how it executes in practice, and what challenges come up. So that's a whole different ballgame.
Rafael Medina is asking something, and I think it has to do with a question that I was just make. He's telling, how do couples separate sex and love? And I would add, how do you take care of your heart, of your physical health, and of your mental health? Because I mean, I know every relation, or each relation has the rules, their agreements, etc. But as you open it, you have more. How would I say? Not sounding judgy or whatever. You have more risk, no? Even to fall in love with someone, or to have a disease, a sexual disease or something. How do you take care when everything is so open?
MJ?
You want to go first, Lexie?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, regarding the physical part, I think it's like for everybody, you need to take STDs tests, whenever you're dating several people. That's like everybody else. And for the emotional part, when you are in an open relationship, you need to have a lot of communication. I think that's the base for this, living like this. You need to talk about everything, even really uncomfortable conversations with your partner. Especially the most uncomfortable ones are the ones that are gonna get you closer to your partner. Also, I liked what Lexie said earlier about nothing is set in stone. So you might want something right now, you might just want to play, have threesomes, foursomes, whatever, but in some point you might get to want to be in a polyamorous relationship, and maybe a couple of years later you might want to go back, or then to a close relationship. So I'm not a huge fan of putting big labels on your status or your relationship. Just be aware of what you want, ask yourself what are your needs, and also learn to listen to your partner to know what they want as well, and be able to reciprocate and to listen and to understand each other in a common ground.
Do you want to add something?
Yeah, I would add, from the emotional perspective, it is very important to have that open line of communication, like MJ said. And also, one thing to realize is that you don't necessarily need to live a dynamic 24/7. There are people for whom that works just fine, right? If we talk about people who are kinky, for example, who are in 24/7 dynamic, they're fine with that. But obviously there comes a time where you don't want to do something, and that doesn't, you don't have to be in that kind of, let's say play party or whatever it is every single day. It is really up to you how much you can handle and what that does, because ultimately what couples that are in open relationships are looking for, they're looking for enhanced life, right? Enhanced joy or happiness or whatever it is. So if the experience is not giving you that, then it's time to take a step back and kind of concentrate on yourself and your partner, and just live that experience before deciding decided to go and open that back up again.
People here, they're saying, well said. Rafael is asking one more. He's telling how to deal with jealousy. That's a good one.
I think you need to be really honest with yourself for that and be open. Like,
what was I?
I'm not saying like whenever
yeah, because I think
you hear me? Can you hear me now?
We're here, no? Yeah? See? I can hear you.
Yeah. I think it's the key for that is being honest. There's like this misconception that people who are in open relationships are not jealous, and I don't think that's the fact. I think you're always vulnerable in this being in an open relationship, and being honest, it's your most valuable tool. Like whenever I've felt jealous, I've come over with my partner and I tell him openly, like, hey, I'm not comfortable with these. What can we do? You know, like find ways to communicate with them as much as possible. And I think that actually helps you to be closer to them in a way. I don't know what you think, Lexie.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, definitely deal with jealousy a lot. Not currently in a relationship, but you know, when I had that kind of situation, it comes up even years after the fact. So I think it's normal part of the process. Again, if it gets too uncomfortable, you just don't have to do that. But ultimately, I think the bottom line of every relationship, especially open relationship, is really, really, really good communication. So the better you become at communicating that, the better your life really becomes, not only in that realm of relationships, but just in general, right? Because you're able to express what you need, you're able to listen to the other side, and you're able to come up with an agreement.
I'm thinking so many things. Like my mind is like whoop, 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 whoop. You are like mentioning a lot the word honesty, and many people they say they are in open relations, but the other part does not know. I have been like, you cannot imagine. I can like really count, and my hands are not enough. Like they say they are in an open relation, and then when you get involved, you realize either they are married or they are so super engaged or they are so super in love. And that's not being in an open relation. That's cheating.
Yes, totally. I couldn't agree more.
That's very Mexican. That's very Mexican. I don't know if it happens in the other parts of the world, but here in Mexico, it's like, ay, estoy en una relación abierta. De verdad, o sea, mi chava está súper bien con esto. I'm sorry, I'm saying it in Spanish, but when I get angry, that's the language I use. Son unos cabrones, o sea, they are being really like, assholes. I don't know, assholes, because there is one part that's not having fun.
Yeah, I mean, coming back to your first question about is it easy to being in an open relationship? I think it's easy to be in an open relationship, but it's not easy to have like a good quality relationship. Like once you start communicating and having all the uncomfortable conversations and like growing, that's what takes you further and actually makes you learn and grow, get into a rich relationship and a worthy relationship.
Yeah, one more, and then I'll read something that Rafael is asking. I like him because he's always asking, like he always follows the program. Prometo hacerlo en español, Rachi, porque yo creo que lo iríamos mucho mejor. But this time in English. Well, I will read his idea, and then I'll tell mine. He says, do you both think that once you decide to go for this practice, should be help with therapy?
Well, in my case, I met a sex therapist a while ago, Well, I'm part of a community, an open sex positive community. It's called Love Libre, and we get together. We have different events, and I've been to different talks. I've had the opportunity to have meaningful connections with all these people there. And in this community, I met a sex therapist who actually helped me and my partner to get much closer and to understand a lot of what we wanted through the relationship, and to like clean up some stuff that was getting in the way of all this. So, I mean, it's not necessary. Definitely help if you feel uncomfortable in some ways, which I think many people might feel uncomfortable because there's no like playbook on this. Like all of our understanding of relationships come from social media or from TV, movies and stuff, and it's not like very accurate or healthy. So I think having the advice from a therapist, it's really recommended in any way, especially in these kind of situations where people are not very familiar with how an healthy open relationship might be.
Yeah. He's telling in order to keep both kind of clean and kind of erase, rewind. Yeah. Do you get involved? I mean, that question like jumped into my head when like 2 months ago. Well, actually, it was in my birthday, and this guy was so into sex, but and then I said, well, he's in an open relation. I don't want to date with him because I will get involved. I know myself. If I like sex, then I will like more and more and more, and then I will like him more, and then I will be there. And he's not looking for that. Do you get involved as friends when you like interact with other people, or do you just keep it like in a sexual phase or in a sexual manner? How does it go? Because I know polyamor. That I have it very clear because we've done like 4 podcasts about that. And I know it is allowed to fall in love for another person, and it's not just sex. Sometimes there's no sex and yet you have a relationship with another person and you love that person. How about open relations? You just keep it like a one night stand? Is it one night stand?
It can be like a one night stand, or not. I wouldn't call it one night stand, because one night stand to me, I don't know, it's not my flavor. Like anything casual, like super casual, is not my flavor. Not to say it doesn't exist, but that's one way to keep it separate, right? You kind of just keep the physical part separate from the emotional part. But there are situations where you get to know people, especially if you hang out with the same people over and over again, and you kind of develop a friendship, right? It's a different flavor of friendship, because you clearly had intimacy, but that does not mean that you necessarily have to get closer and closer to them, and then you kind of have to fall in love with them, right? It's a more open-ended community where you can do a lot of different things. And one thing that people are really good about it is really consent, right? So if you set your boundaries and say, I only want to do X, Y, and Z, right? And I only want to hang out in this environment, but not outside of it, people will respect that. It's not like they're going to, look for you and then try to develop a relationship with you when that's not what you're looking for. Again, there's that part of communication that's very clear in that community. And that's part of what I like about it, is really the ability to clearly state your boundaries and expect that people will follow them.
Yes, I actually agree with you. And also I would add that you can't predict in which level of commitment or like bonding you're gonna have with someone before you meet them. It's not until something happens that you know that there's something else, And I'm not saying that it might happen with everybody, but it's like, if you go with an open mind and just like see what happens, and again, being honest, and like if you start feeling something, talk to your partner. If something's going on inside and you're not like really sure of what you're feeling, also talk to them. Like, yeah, communicating about what's going on what are your intentions. Also talk to the other person which you are inviting to the relationship, to tell them like what are your intentions for that day, you know. Being really open on your thoughts.
Yeah. Here, Rafael is telling, just joking, but that happens when you have your vagina plugged into your heart. Not necessarily. I wasn't talking about falling in love. I'm talking about when you have good chemistry, super, super, super good sex, and you have fun. I mean, you are human. Don't tell me you wouldn't want to hang more with that person. We're human beings.
Yes.
You're not machines. It's not like,
Yes.
okay, let's fuck. Wow, goodbye. Thank you. It was so nice. And I'll go back to my partner. Oh, no, you get involved because you hang around, you like what he says, what he listens to music. And then I think there's trouble because then you have to start like, this is pulling me more than maybe what I have back at my house or at my life. I don't know. I'm being sharp, but I think that's my part. I have to ask and I have to inquire.
I am very much like you, so I understand what you're saying. I mean, and for me, I feel that I have much more valuable connections when I have something like a deeper sense of connection than just like, hey, let's have sex, let's go home, whatever, you know. It's much more rich, more fun, more nourishing when you have something else. And I'm not saying, like you said, falling in love, but maybe like similar interests or something like a deeper, an intellectual connection, you know. So I totally agree with you.
Lexie, something you want to add?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I agree with all the points. I just kind of tried to keep it separate in my head, but clearly that does not always work, right? So you have to plan for those situations, and you know, sometimes they happen and you just kind of there and you try to figure it out. I mean, there's no really universal advice that would apply to all situations that come up in that context.
My last question, do you think like women are more open to talk about this than men? I don't know why, but I asked like several friends, maybe because they were Mexican, and they were like, oh, yo, 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 yo. Well, maybe my best friend, no, he's teasing me right here, but like in the common talk, it was like, And I know for sure that, for example, on Christmas dinner, many people wouldn't say, ay, estoy en una relación abierta. I mean, you don't have to do that, I know, but it's not something like you would say like, this is my boyfriend or this is my girlfriend. You think women are more open? Is it changing? No? See?
It's I just think it goes back to what I said in the beginning about like the mentality. I think a lot of people want to have that kind of relationship, but they don't feel sort of up to it, right? Because in Mexican culture, it's very hard to really understand, to like have good communication. For me personally, coming from another country, I come from a culture that's very direct. And if you try to be direct here and say like, I want an open relationship, that's just gonna like fly against all the society rules and all the little things that person has in their head. So it's kind of hard to navigate, especially for Mexican men that are kind of socialized not to be machistas, but at the same time, they don't quite know who they are, right? They're sort of kind of still trying to figure themselves out in that context. And I'm not saying in a negative way, but it's just more of a cultural identity thing. So I think it may be why it's hard for them to kind of talk about that openly, because that open communication is generally just does not exist, let's say, everywhere in Mexico, right? There's certain pockets here and there, but overall you need to be very diplomatic and very indirect, which I think makes it hard to really get your point across and really explain what you're looking for in your relationship and just generally in life. That's my unorthodox take on this. I don't know.
MJ?
No, I totally agree with you. And also, I agree. It has to do more with personality and how you are, not all too much on your gender. Because I have both men and women who both are scared of this. the same level, and I think that it's a thing that you need to work. There's a lot of inner work involved in this, and not everybody is willing to do that. It kind of looks like a very shallow lifestyle, like people think like, hey, you have an open relationship, so you wanna just fuck around with everybody. I mean, that's what I see in this. It's more like that is like the price you get from doing all this inner work, and having all these conversations. So I don't know if this is I think it would also affect your culture and your understanding.
¿La perdimos?
Sí, pues yo estoy acá. ¿A quién me perdieron a mí o las perdí yo a ustedes? Sí.
Yo
creo que no sé si es la conexión o la mía. But anyways, here we are. This is Zoom, right? We're not in the radio booth. I would love to, I would love to again have people in the studio, but like timing, it's difficult. The distances. So Zoom and Face Live and all this stuff has become like very practical because it's very, very hard to invite someone December 9:30 in the night to come and talk with me. So let's use this and let's be happy. Tomémoslo con calma. MJ, like Lexie told something very accurate, would that be the word, about Mexican culture? And I agree with you. It's not about gender, but it's about education, how the way we were raised. But I think also other countries, they are not so open. I mean, I haven't dated like the entire world, so I cannot tell. But I have dated Latin American guys, and I know Latin American ladies. I've studied in the States. I've lived in London. They are conservative. I mean, depends where you move. As for me, I'm a dancer. I live in the free world. We really don't care about anything. As long as you dance and you are free, then you are very welcome. And
I think it's also like my partner is Mexican as well, and we've had this conversation many times. In our experience, we've had much more successful connections with foreigners than Latin American men or women, more American or European women than, Asian and African women than Latin American men and women. So I do see a pattern in culture, like I think it has to do a lot with how people have this conception of relationships. And I mean, I'm not saying that Latin American men and women can't have open relationships.
Can
you hear me now?
It's like cutting out, but I think it's on Carla. Can you hear us?
I think she's
frozen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Are you back?
Like, I think you froze. You're frozen, just like the Disney movie. We lost you. I think we lost your audio. See, now you are there. Yeah.
Okay.
A ver.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah. I can hear you. I can hear you. Fine. I think it's Carla's connection that may be cutting out.
Oh yeah, Carla froze again. Oh, you're back. So
See?
I don't know if you could hear everything that I said.
I could hear you.
Me too.
Yeah, I
Lexie,
mean,
you
I don't wanna close like the line, like saying that it's not for Latin American people, but it is harder for us that have a more conservative background, like you said, Carla.
Well, your background comes from Spain. I have dated Spanish guys. They are not very liberal. I can tell you that.
No, I mean Latin people in general are we I mean at the end Latin America has the Spanish roots, so yeah, there's a similarity. There's a lot of similarities in their culture and in our culture. So yeah. It's a setback.
There's also a religious aspect, right? There is Catholicism, which I mean, religion in general, it's present everywhere, not only in Latam. But here, I think it's more like omnipresent. It is still like the backbone of day-to-day life, and that does affect the way you're raised. In the US, the same thing. There's a lot of communities that are very religious that would never in a million years do an open relationship, but the thing with the US is that there's a lot of different subcultures, right? And some of those subcultures are a lot more open than others. But I don't want to close it like on a negative note and say, if you're from Latin America, good luck finding an open relationship.
Yeah. I don't want to send that message either. Yeah.
Yeah, so I would say it really depends.
I would like for people to see me as an example that it is possible.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it is
both girls are well, they're telling you this, like, thank you for your comments. You were very keen and honest with this topic. Thanks, quite interesting. All of them men, eh? Andre, he told, great chat, ladies. Thank you for your perspectives. Yeah, I think the purpose of this podcast is opening the channels to have great talks and to listen to other points of view. You don't have to agree or disagree. Sometimes when I make like a podcast or I have a theme, they think that I'm into that theme. Not at all. I am curious and I like to ask. And mostly I like to be respectful and honest. And it makes me think. The Poly Love program, really, it made me think a lot. And as for you girls, same here. Thank you for your time. I'm sorry about the connection. Some of them said that it was me. Some of them it was you. I mean, it is what it is. I hope you got a lot out of it. Leslie Scuga, as Mexican, I am not so open to an open relationship. I can say that I could get jealous at some point. So I often look for guys with similarities, but sometimes it's hard because foreigners are more open-minded with this topic. Do you think so?
Yeah, I think I mean, as I mentioned earlier, being in an open relationship doesn't exempt you from being jealous. So yeah, you will feel jealous if you're in an open relationship, but you need to be honest about it. And yes, being Mexican, foreigners usually tend to be more open to these topics. So what you're saying is true. I mean, I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
Sure. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being here with me tonight.
Thank you, Carla.
I think that I would add to Leslie or for this point of view that you have to really be honest with yourself. You really have to be honest on what you want, what you need, and do not expect no one to get yourself clear. You have to be clear with yourself. And that's called maturity. Te lo puedo decir yo que tengo 51. When you get to a certain point in your life, trust me, you are more and more clear every day. And I think the secret is being happy with yourself. And then magic appears. Either it's in a poly love way, in an open relationship, or in monogamy, but you have to really be in peace with yourself and you have to be congruent. Because sometimes in Mexico, it happens a lot. We say a lot, but we think other way. And we have to be congruent in between what we feel, what we think, and what we say. Gracias. Thank you for being here, Lexie, MJ. Really, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Gracias
Thank
a
you for
todos.
inviting us, Carla.
Yeah, I will leave you with a small video. We're having meditation this Saturday to close the year. As you might know, I mean, not all of you know me, but I'm a choreographer, I'm a dancer, and I'm a yoga teacher. I've been practicing for the past 35 years. And I think through meditation and silence, I have reached a point that really I live in a very peaceful way, in a very cachondo way, in a very happy way. So if you want to come and meditate, you're free to come. If you write down the password desde el cuarto piso, you will get a very good discount. So Beto, nos puedes poner el video. Muchísimas gracias a todos. Gracias MJ. Gracias Lexie. Thank you all of you. Thank you for your time, for your comments. Muchísimas gracias desde el cuarto piso. Linda noche. Night night girls. I love you.
Bye.
Gracias.
Gracias.
Danza, yoga, movimiento y fuerza. Una meditación en movimiento que te permite enfocarte, fortalecer, tener claridad. Respira y sobre todo, brilla.